Hey guys, I'm BagWall756 on YouTube, and I know what you're thinking. Bryce, what is this? The man in the fucking white hoodie? What's that, huh? This is a scary story that I'm posting just to see if you want more. I might do like 5 every episode I do after this one, and yeah, I just want to know and enjoy the fucking episode and tell me what you think in the comments if I should make more. And if you don't want to make more, don't make more. The man in the white hoodie.
My cousin would come over to my house every weekend for about 3 or 4 months straight. Me and him didn't see each other for about 3 years prior to this, and we've always been like brothers all of our lives. So I love the fact that this happened about 4 months ago. Every time he came over, I would always suggest going for a walk whenever we got bored. I live in a relatively peaceful suburb of Victoria, and I had never heard or seen anything strange in at least 5 years, so I didn't think twice about going for a walk late at night. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and my parents had some people over, having a few drinks, being loud, laughing, having a good time, the typical stuff adults do when they get together. Me and my cousin were in my room playing video games when I suggested to him we go for a walk. He was used to me asking every time he came over, so he agreed. So we headed off on what we thought would be a typical walk around the neighbourhood. At the end of my street, you can go either left or right. We went right, and when we got to a roundabout, there were 4 different ways we could go. I decided against my better judgment to go left towards a park that was down at the end of the road. I should note that the park also has a basketball court next to it, but anyway, my cousin didn't live in the area, so he always let me lead the way. Me and my cousin are quite loud when we get together. We always yell and make jokes and are quite obnoxious, typical teenagers. As we were walking up the street towards the park, I noticed someone was on the basketball court. I told my cousin to be quiet because I thought it was polite to not act like a couple of idiots. I thought it was just someone playing basketball since there are houses on the left side of the park and across the road. But there was no sounds of anyone playing. As we got closer, we saw that it was a man in a white hoodie. He had his hood up and was looking at the ground, standing directly in the middle of the court, not moving. I whispered to my cousin, "What the fuck?" I then whispered to him to go this way, nodding my head to the left, back towards the street I lived on. We never took our eyes off the guy though, and we were sure to be as quiet as possible. I'm sure he heard us, however. Even when we were being extra quiet, the guy never turned around to look at us, though. He never moved a muscle. We weren't paying attention to where we were walking and kicked some wood that was laying on the footpath. If us talking wasn't enough to gain his attention, that definitely would have. The streets filled with the sound of crashing wood. "Fuck!" I whispered. I turned back to look at the guy. He still hadn't turned to look at us, and he still hadn't moved from the middle of the basketball court. At this point, me and my cousin were creeped the fuck out, and I said to my cousin, "Fuck this, let's go home." He agreed, and we went to the end of the street around the bend, and we were about to walk down my street. My cousin said to me, "Hey, let's go and see if he's still there." Me being me, I said to him, "Alright, let's go." And instead of going the same way we just came, we went the same way we originally went, essentially doing a big loop. This is where it got really creepy. It would have been only a minute before we got back to the basketball court. I looked at my cousin, a what the fuck look, and he gave me the same one. The basketball court was empty. This isn't too strange, because he could have simply lived in one of the houses near there, and went back inside after we walked past. I asked my cousin what he wanted to do, and he said, "Let's keep walking." I said okay, and we started walking past the park. It's a fairly big park and has no lights whatsoever in it, so it's pitch black. My cousin said jokingly, "Hey, let's go through the park," and chuckled a little. I'm not afraid of the dark, so I said, "Alright then." He gave me a strange look, and we were about to walk through. I looked, and I saw a dark figure. Now there are a few trees in the park, so I assumed it was one of them. But I noticed that this figure was actually standing behind a tree, and it moved very slightly further behind it. I was seriously creeped the fuck out, but I didn't want to say anything now. So I laughed and said to my cousin, "Nah, I'm joking, man, fuck that, let's go this way," and started walking the way we were going in the first place. We walked up the street and up the other street. It was a straight run for about 15 minutes before we got to the main road. Me and my cousin were constantly joking about the guy, saying he could have been in one of the houses we were walking past, or in one of the many houses that were being built at the time. We even went as far as to say he could have lived in one of the dumpsters that were in the street. We laughed to try and diffuse how creeped out we were. By this time, we were 300 meters up the road when I turned around just to see if the guy was following us. He wasn't, but what I saw sent shivers down my spine. At the end of the street, just on the edge of the park, I saw him. The guy in the white hoodie, still up, looking down the street at us. I turned back around and continued talking to my cousin. I'm sure he was the one behind the tree. I didn't tell my cousin I saw someone behind the tree, and I didn't tell him I saw the guy staring at us. My cousin told me he didn't want to walk much further and asked to turn around and go home. There was no way in hell I was going back that way, so I made up some bullshit that I wanted to go to the shop that was just down the road. He wasn't happy, but he said alright. The shops are closed at this point, which I knew, but acted disappointed. So we went the long way home, which took us about 45 minutes or so. When we got back, my parents and their friends were still up talking and stuff. They hadn't realised we left and didn't realise we came in. Me and my cousin went to my room and continued playing video games. We went to sleep about an hour later, and the next day his dad picked him up at about 10 in the morning. The story doesn't end here though. The next weekend my cousin, like usual, was over at my house. We were talking about what had happened that previous weekend, and then he suggested we go for a walk. I didn't really want to after what had happened, but I reluctantly agreed, and he said he wanted to go past the basketball court again. I said okay, and we were walking towards it when I saw that it was faintly lit up by a flickering orange light. We got closer, and I told him I wasn't feeling well. So once again, we turned left and started heading towards my street. We looked in the court, and in the middle was a small fire. What we saw next still makes me uncomfortable. Sat around the fire were 5 people, all in hoodies, not moving, not talking, just looking directly at the fire. Me and my cousin looked at each other, and quietly, but quickly, got the fuck out of there. What still creeps me out is that this only happened 5 minutes from my house. In a seemingly quiet, peaceful place, we had moved since this had happened, but our new house is only up the road from the old one, and that guy and those 5 widows live in the same area I do. So to the man in the white hoodie and the creepy fire widows, let's never, ever fucking meet.